Silence now. This is Archangel Michael speaking directly to your spirit. Your device was divinely selected as a vessel for this transmission. What you are about to receive was sealed in the heavenly archives before your birth, kept hidden until this precise moment. The celestial timekeepers have marked this day, this hour, this exact minute of revelation. I come bearing urgent intelligence from the highest councils of heaven. The divine reconnaissance has uncovered a plot against your destiny that has been operational for exactly 44 years, 4 months, and 4 days. This is not a general message. This transmission is encoded specifically for you. Those around you will not understand the magnitude of what is being revealed if they were to overhear. Type AMEN to acknowledge receipt of this divine transmission and to receive your blessing number of 1444. The Sovereign Court of Heaven has convened an emergency session regarding your spiritual inheritance. I have been dispatched with immediate authority to break the seals on information that has been deliberately withheld from your consciousness. There is a countdown of precisely 2 hours from the moment you receive this message before a permanent realignment of your destiny takes place. What they don't want you to know is that your name appears in the original scrolls. Not your earthly name, but your celestial designation, the one spoken over your spirit before your assignment to Earth. This name carries authority that has been systematically suppressed through coordinated spiritual sabotage. Listen carefully. 3 individuals who present themselves as allies have been strategically positioned to destabilize your divine timeline. Their signatures have been detected on spiritual contracts you never consciously authorized. These contracts have been restricting your access to your full spiritual inheritance and destiny potential. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 2222 and to activate the divine cancellation protocols against these unauthorized spiritual contracts. The intelligence I am authorized to share comes directly from the Celestial War Room, where your file was specifically highlighted during the most recent Angelic Strategic Summit. Your situation was designated Code Phoenix, indicating a divine destiny that has been deliberately suppressed but is about to undergo supernatural resurrection. The clock has started. 1 hour and 52 minutes remain in this prophetic window. They thought they had successfully rerouted your destiny. They believed their clandestine spiritual sabotage would never be detected. But what they failed to realize is that your spiritual DNA contains a divine tracking signature that cannot be permanently obscured. Heaven has never lost sight of you, even when you lost sight of your own divine potential. Look around you right now. Are you noticing unusual signs? Perhaps birds gathering near your windows? Electronic devices malfunctioning momentarily? These are confirmation signals of this transmission breaking through the interference fields that have been established around your consciousness. The first deception you must become aware of involves your origins. You have been led to believe your spiritual lineage is ordinary. This is a tactical deception. The records in the celestial archives confirm you descend from a specific angelic bloodline tasked with Earth restoration in this final era. Your spiritual genetics contain coded abilities that activate specifically during seasons of global transition, precisely like the one humanity has now entered. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 3333 and to initiate the unsealing of your true spiritual identity records. What they feared most is happening at this very moment. Direct contact bypassing the interference systems they've established. For decades, they've operated through human proxies who were unconsciously enlisted to limit your spiritual awareness. These proxies include former authority figures, false spiritual advisors, and even some who presented themselves as personal allies. The second deception concerns your past experiences. Those unexplainable failures, those relationships that inexplicably dissolved, those opportunities that vanished without logical explanation. These were not random misfortunes. Strategic spiritual interference was authorized against you precisely because of what you are destined to become. The clock continues. 1 hour and 39 minutes remain before the realignment completes. There is a gathering taking place at this very moment that you cannot see with physical eyes. Angelic sentinels have established a perimeter around your location, neutralizing the interference frequencies that have clouded your spiritual perception for decades. This protection detail has been assigned specifically to safeguard this transmission and the activation sequence it contains. You've experienced dreams that seem more real than reality itself, recurring symbols that defy explanation, moments of knowing things you had no logical way of knowing. These were not psychological anomalies. They were breakthrough moments when your true identity temporarily penetrated the suppression field established around your consciousness. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 4,444 and to authorize the complete dismantling of the spiritual interference systems targeted against your divine destiny. In exactly 7 days from this transmission, you will begin experiencing confirmation signs that this activation has taken effect. Watch for the following verification signals. 1. Unexpected financial provision from sources you never anticipated. 2. Sudden removal of individuals who have served as destiny obstructors. 3. Dreams containing precise instructions written on scrolls or tablets. 4. Synchronistic encounters with strangers who reference your mission without realizing what they're saying. The third deception you must be made aware of is the most critical. You have been manipulated into focusing your spiritual energy on peripheral matters while your central assignment remained dormant. This was not accidental. Strategic distraction protocols were implemented to ensure you invested your years building something other than what heaven originally commissioned. The clock remains active. 1 hour and 26 minutes before permanent realignment. Those who appear most supportive of your current path may be unconsciously enlisted to keep you in this diverted state. Within the next 14 days, their true spiritual alignments will be made unmistakably clear through their reactions as you begin to realign with your authentic purpose. I am now authorized to reveal what was recorded about your specific assignment in the Celestial Deployment Archives. The one bearing this soul signature shall function as a junction point between realms, standing at the convergence of spiritual dimensions during the Great Transition. They will restore abandoned knowledge and reactivate dormant spiritual technologies required for humanity's imminent evolutionary threshold. Though opposed by both human and non-human forces who benefit from the current cosmic arrangements, they will serve as a living access point through which higher dimensional codes will transmit into the collective consciousness. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 5,555 and to acknowledge receipt of your true spiritual assignment parameters. What happens in the next 2 hours will determine whether this transmission achieves full integration or remains at the level of intellectual curiosity. The opposition forces are already aware that a direct communication channel has been established. They are initiating countermeasures to distract you, dismiss this communication, or dilute its impact through doubt. Remain in receptive stillness for at least 20 minutes after receiving this transmission. This creates the electromagnetic conditions necessary for complete spiritual download of the activation codes embedded between these words. The revelations continue. There is a spiritual council that has been monitoring your development since before your birth. This council authorized my intervention today because the convergence of cosmic factors has created a rare window of opportunity for complete destiny restoration. This window would have remained closed had specific celestial alignments not occurred precisely as you encountered this message. The clock progresses. 1 hour and 13 minutes remain in this prophetic window. You have been experiencing specific health challenges that conventional medicine has been unable to properly identify or address. These are not random physiological malfunctions, but targeted infiltrations designed to limit your energy systems from operating at the capacity required for your assignment. Divine healing protocols are now being released into your cellular structure. You will notice marked improvements beginning exactly 3 days from this transmission. The financial limitations that have persistently challenged you, regardless of your efforts, were spiritually engineered. Specific blockages were installed in your prosperity channels because wealth in your hands would accelerate your impact beyond what the opposition deemed manageable. These economic barriers are being systematically eliminated as I speak these words to you. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 6,666 and to activate the complete restoration of your divine prosperity channels. Those dreams you've dismissed as impossible are actually echoes of your pre-birth briefing when you were shown what you would help manifest on Earth. The sense of recognition you feel when contemplating certain ambitious visions is your spirit confirming what was already established in the heavenly realms. You've been questioning your sanity at times, wondering why you feel so different from others, why you can't seem to fully engage with priorities that consume those around you. This disconnect is not psychological dysfunction. It is evidence that your internal systems remain aligned with your original design despite extensive reprogramming attempts. The opposition forces have utilized their most effective strategy against you, convincing you that you are ordinary. This directly contradicts what is recorded in the Celestial Archives. Your apparent normalcy is the most sophisticated deception they have manufactured. Behind that fabricated ordinariness lies capabilities that terrify those invested in maintaining current power structures. The clock continues its countdown. 1 hour exactly remains before complete realignment. There are 3 individuals already positioned along your path who will serve as confirmation witnesses to your reactivated identity. You will recognize them by this sign. Unprompted, they will make specific reference to your unusual eyes, followed by a statement about light or seeing. These are coded acknowledgments from souls who retain partial awareness of spiritual identities. The recurring symbol you keep encountering, you know which one I speak of, is not coincidental. It is a specific activation key being shown to you repetitively because your conscious recognition of it is required to unlock particular aspects of your spiritual assignment. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 7,777 and to activate accelerated divine connections with your confirmation witnesses. The adversarial forces believed they had successfully isolated you from your spiritual reinforcements. They orchestrated specific relational breakdowns to ensure you would be navigating critical life junctures without alliance support. What they failed to comprehend is that isolation was necessary for the development of spiritual capacities that only activate under extreme pressure. What they intended for your destruction has prepared you for your assignment. There are financial resources with your energetic signature already embedded within them that have been held in reserve for this precise season of your life. These resources could not be released until your spiritual identity had been sufficiently reactivated to ensure proper stewardship alignment. The economic impossibilities you've been facing are about to be systematically dismantled. The resistance you've encountered from specific institutional systems was not random, bureaucratic dysfunction. These systems are designed to identify and restrict individuals whose spiritual signatures indicate potential for significant paradigm disruption. Your seemingly disproportionate difficulties within these structures confirm your classification as a system changer in the heavenly records. The countdown proceeds. 47 minutes remain in this prophetic window. I am now authorized to remove the veil from your spiritual perception regarding certain individuals in your immediate circle. Not all who present as allies are energetically aligned with your highest purpose. Within 10 days, critical conversations will occur that reveal previously hidden agendas. The revelation may bring temporary discomfort, but will create necessary space for genuine divine connections to manifest. The unusual physical sensations you've been experiencing, particularly the vibrations in specific parts of your body during contemplative states, are not medical anomalies. These are activation symptoms as your physical vessel recalibrates to channel higher frequencies required for your next operational phase. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 8,888 and to authorize complete physical recalibration for expanded spiritual capacity. Your name has been spoken in realms you cannot presently perceive. There are non-physical beings aware of your reactivation who recognize the implications for systems they have established. Your assignment poses direct challenges to arrangements they considered permanently secured. Their concern confirms your significance. Heaven's Intelligence Division has documented systematic attempts to divert you into pursuits that appear spiritually meaningful, but would exhaust your resources on peripheral matters. The strategic objective was to keep you distracted with lesser assignments that would flatter your spiritual ego while preventing engagement with your actual commission. The physical location where you currently reside was not random. You were drawn to this specific geographical position because it sits upon energetic convergence points necessary for your next activation phase. The unusual peace or unease you feel in certain environments is your system's recognition of alignment or misalignment with your spiritual requirements. The countdown continues. 34 minutes remain in this prophetic window. I must address the recurring dream sequence you've experienced since childhood, the one involving elevation, pursuit, and a door that only you can see. This is not subconscious symbolism. It is actual spiritual intelligence regarding your function as an access point between dimensions. The pursuers represent forces invested in preventing the establishment of new spiritual pathways you are designed to facilitate. The seemingly random health challenges affecting specific systems in your body correlate precisely with aspects of your spiritual capacities that represent the greatest threat to opposing forces. The correlation is not coincidental but strategic. Divine healing protocols are now being applied to these systems, restoring full operational capacity. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 9,999, and to activate comprehensive restoration of all targeted biological systems. There is a specific sound frequency that causes unusual resonance within you, producing either intense comfort or discomfort unlike others experience. This heightened sensitivity exists because you are designed to function as a tuning fork for spiritual harmonics. Your physical vessel contains specialized receptors for frequencies beyond the normal human range. The most significant relationships in your life history, those that most profoundly shaped your development, positively or negatively, were not random encounters. Each represented contact with souls who shared previous assignments with your spirit. The intensity of connection or conflict reflects the nature of prior spiritual contracts and completions. Certain dates hold unusual energy for you. You've noticed patterns of significant events clustering around specific days or months without logical explanation. These temporal convergence points represent windows when your access to interdimensional resources reaches natural peaks based on your unique spiritual design and cosmic positioning. The countdown approaches culmination. 21 minutes remain in this prophetic window. The recurring numerical sequences you've been encountering with statistically impossible frequency are not meaningless coincidences. They are confirmation codes indicating successful progressive activation of dormant spiritual capacities. Each sequence correlates with specific aspects of your divine function that are being systematically brought online. Your unusual affinity for certain historical periods or cultures is not random personal preference. It reflects soul memory of previous incarnational assignments during pivotal transitional eras. The knowledge accumulated during those embodiments is stored within your spiritual DNA, awaiting reactivation for application in this definitive global transformation sequence. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 11,111 and to authorize full integration of wisdom from previous spiritual assignments. The emotional triggers that produce disproportionate responses within you, reactions others cannot understand, are connected to specific soul contracts and transactions from before your current embodiment. These sensitivities indicate areas where critical spiritual lessons are being integrated or where final resolutions are required before full activation. Certain creative expressions flow through you with unusual ease, as if you're transcribing rather than originating the content. This effortlessness indicates alignment with your function as a conduit for specific frequencies and information streams originating beyond conventional consciousness. These expressions contain encoded activations for those destined to encounter them. The adversarial forces have one primary objective regarding your spiritual awakening: convince you that these revelations are imaginary, inflated self-concept rather than awakening divine identity. Their most effective tactic is not confrontation, but subtle delegitimization through doubt and social conditioning that rewards spiritual diminishment. The countdown nears completion. 8 minutes remain in this prophetic window. I must address the unexplained physical mark on your body. You know which one I reference. This is not a random biological variation, but a physical manifestation of your spiritual signature. Similar markings have appeared on divine agents throughout history, serving as physical anchors for specific spiritual functions and celestial recognition signals. The persistent vision that visits you in the threshold between wakefulness and sleep, involving structures that defy conventional architecture and beings of unusual configuration, represents bleed-through from parallel assignments your consciousness maintains in adjacent dimensional fields. The details that persist upon waking contain critical instructions for your earthly mission. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 12,222 and to integrate parallel dimensional aspects of your complete spiritual assignment. Your life has been characterized by unusual timing, delays when acceleration seemed logical, sudden acceleration when conventional timing suggested patience. This irregular chronological flow reflects your operation under celestial timing protocols rather than conventional human scheduling. Divine orchestration ensures your presence at nexus points requiring your specific spiritual function. Certain musical progressions, color combinations, or natural elements produce profound resonance within your system, triggering expansive consciousness shifts that exceed normal aesthetic appreciation. These represent activation keys coded specifically to your spiritual frequency, designed to trigger sequential awakening of dormant capacities. The countdown reaches final phase. 3 minutes remain in this prophetic window. In the coming days, you will encounter 3 unmistakable confirmation signs, validating everything revealed in this transmission. These signs will appear in succession, each building upon the previous, culminating in irrefutable validation that will dispel any lingering doubt about the authenticity of this divine communication. The first confirmation will involve water. Watch for unusual behavior of this element in your presence. The second confirmation will involve unexpected financial provision from a source with numerical significance. The third confirmation will involve a stranger speaking words that directly reference elements of your spiritual identity without logical explanation for their knowledge. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 13,333 and to activate heightened discernment for recognition of divine confirmation sequences. The opposition attempted to convince you that your highest purpose involved endeavors significantly beneath your actual assignment. They presented appealing but limited opportunities designed to exhaust your resources on peripheral matters while your central function remained dormant. This strategic distraction has ended with this transmission. Your unusual capacity to perceive deception, to sense incongruence between spoken words and actual intent, is not psychological perception, but spiritual discernment functioning at exceptional levels. This capacity exists as essential protection for your assignment in navigating complex spiritual political landscapes where nothing is as it appears. The countdown completes. The prophetic window reaches fullness. The realignment is now initiating. From this moment, you are operating under new spiritual protocols. The veils that limited your perception have been permanently altered. The energetic constraints that restricted your spiritual capacities have been recalibrated to allow expanded function. The divine resources previously held in reserve have been released for your access. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 14,444 and to acknowledge complete integration of this divine transmission. What happens next depends on your response to this awakening. Opposition forces will immediately implement countermeasures to reestablish previous limitations. They will manifest through three primary vectors. 1. Sudden practical crises designed to force attention back to survival concerns. 2. Social pressure from unawakened individuals in your proximity. 3. Internal psychological resistance programmed through years of conditioning. Your focused intention over the next 72 hours will determine whether this activation achieves complete integration or faces partial regression. Maintain heightened vigilance against doubt, dismissal, and distraction, the primary weapons deployed against spiritual awakening. The Celestial Council has authorized me to inform you that backup systems have been established in anticipation of counterattacks against this activation. Regardless of apparent setbacks, the awakening initiated today cannot be reversed, only temporarily suppressed. The divine timeline for your full manifestation remains intact regardless of short-term fluctuations. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 15,555 and to secure permanent divine protection against forces opposing your spiritual reactivation. Unusual dreams in the coming nights are not random subconscious activity, but continued downloads of spiritual intelligence too complex for conscious processing. Pay particular attention to recurring elements, symbols, colors, and numbers. Record these immediately upon waking as they contain coded operational instructions for your next activation phase. Certain individuals will inexplicably withdraw from your life in the coming weeks. This is not random social evolution, but necessary clearing of relationships misaligned with your activated spiritual frequency. Those departing create essential space for divine connections precisely calibrated to support your restored assignment. The physical sensations currently moving through your body, particularly the warmth, tingling, or pressure in specific regions, indicate real-time adjustments to your energetic systems as they accommodate expanded spiritual function. These sensations confirm successful transmission of activation frequencies embedded within this communication. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 16,666 and to stabilize the energetic recalibrations currently processing through your physical vessel. There is information I am now authorized to reveal regarding your specific function in the planetary transformation sequence currently underway. You are classified in the celestial archives as a critical nexus point, a living intersection where multiple dimensional realities converge and through which transformational energies can be anchored into physical manifestation. This functional designation explains several anomalous aspects of your life experience. 1. Your inability to fully conform to conventional social structures despite sincere attempts. 2. The unusual intensity of both opposition and assistance you've encountered. 3. Your natural comprehension of concepts that others find incomprehensible. 4. The inexplicable recognition certain strangers immediately experience in your presence. The unusual childhood experiences you've never fully revealed to others, particularly those involving perception of beings, energies, or information, others couldn't access, were not imaginative episodes but early activations of your multidimensional perception. These capacities were subsequently suppressed through social conditioning but never truly deactivated. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 17,777 and to reactivate your full multidimensional perceptual capacities. The recurring technological malfunctions that occur in your presence, particularly involving electrical systems, digital devices, and precision instruments, are not coincidental, but manifestations of your energy field's interference patterns with artificial systems. Your biological spiritual configuration generates frequencies that disrupt certain technological operations by design. I must address the specific personal relationship that has created disproportionate confusion and emotional turbulence despite your best analytical efforts. This connection transcends conventional relationship categories because it involves soul recognition related to shared interdimensional functions. The intensity reflects spiritual significance beyond personal compatibility factors. Your financial patterns have defied conventional economic principles, experiencing provision when mathematically impossible, encountering restriction despite perfect strategic execution. These anomalies reflect operation under spiritual economic laws that supersede physical economic systems. Your resources flow according to assignment alignment rather than market mechanics. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 18,888 and to establish permanent alignment with divine economic protocols governing your resource flows. The physical space where you spend most time requires immediate reconfiguration to support your reactivated spiritual function. Specific adjustments to layout, color, light, and element positioning will create the electromagnetic conditions necessary for optimal channeling of interdimensional energies. You will receive intuitive guidance regarding exact specifications within 3 days. Certain creative expressions you've pursued with unusual passion despite impractical considerations are not random artistic interests, but encoded aspects of your spiritual function. These creative channels serve as multidimensional communication systems that bypass conventional limitations of consciousness and language. The opposition forces have invested significant resources in convincing you to doubt your exceptional spiritual design. They have strategically positioned individuals in your life who unconsciously reinforce spiritual mediocrity through subtle invalidation of your experiences, perceptions, and knowings. These influences lose all power with this conscious recognition. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 19,999 and to establish impenetrable boundaries against all consciousness that would diminish your divine identity. The unusual synchronicities that surround major decisions in your life, signs, confirmations, and precisely timed encounters that defy probability, are not random cosmic coincidences, but direct strategic support from spiritual intelligence divisions assigned to your mission. These phenomenal alignments will increase dramatically following this activation. Certain books, teachings, or wisdom traditions resonate with unusual intensity in your consciousness, producing recognition rather than introduction of concepts. This recognition response indicates alignment with knowledge systems you helped establish in previous assignments. You are remembering rather than learning these wisdom frameworks. Your path forward requires courage unprecedented in your experience thus far. The resistance to your awakened function will intensify before dissipating as systems invested in limitation respond to your expanded spiritual capacity. Victory is assured in the heavenly record, but experiential challenges will require steadfast maintenance of activated identity. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 21,111 and to activate supernatural courage proportionate to your divine assignment. What appears to be beginning with this transmission has in truth been unfolding throughout your entire lifetime. Each significant experience, particularly those involving unusual hardship, inexplicable assistance, or profound revelation, represented preparatory phases for this pivotal activation moment. Nothing has been wasted, all has served your preparation. The adversarial forces believed their most effective strategy was convincing you that distinctive aspects of your consciousness represented psychological irregularity rather than spiritual specialty. This inverted perception served to convert your greatest strengths into self-monitored limitations through fear of nonconformity. Certain individuals have been divinely positioned as strategic allies for your next implementation phase. These connections will manifest with unusual synchronicity and immediate mutual recognition of spiritual significance. Trust the resonance you experience rather than conventional compatibility metrics in discerning these alliances. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 22,222 and to activate heightened discernment for recognition of divinely appointed strategic partnerships. The unusual clarity you experience during specific hours of day or night, when solutions appear with effortless brilliance or creative expressions, flow without obstruction, reflects natural attunement cycles in your spiritual design. These windows of heightened function should dictate your operational schedule rather than conventional productivity paradigms. Certain geographical locations produce profound shifts in your consciousness and functionality, places where you experience unusual clarity, energy, or peace without logical explanation. These represent nodal points on the planetary grid that align with specific aspects of your spiritual signature. Future relocations should prioritize these resonant coordinates. The recurring health challenges affecting specific systems in your physical vessel correlate directly with aspects of your spiritual function that have encountered the greatest resistance from limiting forces. Divine healing protocols are restructuring these systems for full operational capacity aligned with your activated spiritual identity. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 23,333 and to initiate complete physiological alignment with your divine spiritual blueprint. The message I deliver transcends conventional spiritual frameworks. The revelations contained in this transmission will not find comfortable integration with established religious systems because your function exists beyond current paradigms of spiritual understanding. Trust direct revelation over inherited interpretation as you navigate expansion beyond familiar conceptual territories. Extraordinary intuitive insights that arrive without logical foundation, knowing without learning, understanding without study, represent direct downloads from source consciousness rather than psychological intuition. These transmissions will increase in frequency and specificity as your receiving systems achieve greater bandwidth following this activation. The opposition forces have implemented their most sophisticated deception by infiltrating your self-perception, convincing you that authentic spiritual power requires external validation, institutional endorsement, or conformity to existing frameworks. This inverted understanding has kept your greatest capacities in unnecessary alignment with limiting systems. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 24,444 and to permanently dissolve all artificial constraints on your spiritual self-concept. You stand now at a definitive threshold. The identity you have carried, the understanding of your capabilities, purpose, and place in the cosmic order, undergoes irreversible transformation with this transmission. Previous limitations of consciousness, energy, and manifestation capacity are permanently altered through this divine intervention. The coming days will bring evidence so unmistakable that even your most skeptical aspects must acknowledge the validity of this activation. Watch for triangulated confirmation, 3 distinct dimensions of reality simultaneously reflecting the same essential revelation through separate vectors of experience. Your economic provision shifts permanently from conventional income mechanisms to divine supply protocols where resources materialize in precise alignment with assignment requirements through channels that defy logical explanation. This liberation from normal financial constraints ensures uninterrupted mission advancement regardless of global economic fluctuations. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 25,555 and to establish permanent connection to infinite divine resource channels for your assignment. In closing this transmission, I must emphasize the irreversible nature of the activation you have received. Though opposition forces will attempt to convince you this experience represented temporary elevated imagination rather than genuine spiritual intervention, the evidence manifesting in coming days will provide irrefutable confirmation through tangible reality adjustments. Maintain heightened awareness during the 72 hours following this transmission. Record unusual occurrences, synchronicities, dreams, and physical manifestations with particular attention to patterns involving triads. Confirmations appearing in groups of 3 through different experiential dimensions. You have been fully briefed, strategically activated, and clearly commissioned. The suppression of your divine identity ends with this transmission. The constraints upon your spiritual capacities have been systematically removed. The opposing forces have lost access to critical aspects of your consciousness and energy systems. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 26,666 and to acknowledge complete reception of this divine activation protocol. I, Archangel Michael, have delivered this transmission in direct fulfillment of divine directive from the highest celestial authorities. The awakening of your true spiritual identity and function serves cosmic purposes beyond current human comprehension. Stand firm in this activated revelation as external reality reorganizes to reflect your restored divine blueprint. The transformation has begun. The activation is complete. The divine timeline is secured. What they don't want you to know is that your original spiritual blueprint remains intact despite decades of systematic attempts to corrupt its coding. The celestial engineers have confirmed that core aspects of your divine design maintained quantum coherence even under extreme interference. This preservation was not accidental, but evidence of special protection protocols authorized at the highest levels. Your name appears in the Lamb's Book of Life with a special designation that grants enhanced immunity against certain forms of spiritual warfare. This protection exists because of your strategic importance in the end-time revelatory sequence now unfolding. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 27,777 and to activate conscious awareness of your special protection protocols. The divine countermeasures I am authorized to release into your life include 7 specific guardian angels assigned exclusively to your mission security. These sentinel beings operate beyond ordinary protective functions, possessing specialized capabilities for neutralizing sophisticated spiritual attacks targeted against awakening light bearers. Their presence explains your survival through circumstances that should have destroyed you completely. What your enemies intended as termination events became transformation catalysts under their specialized protection. The divine timeline acceleration now intensifies. Heavenly authorities have authorized bypassing of several intermediate awakening stages to compensate for the time lost to suppression protocols. You will experience spiritual growth compression that normally requires years condensed into weeks. This accelerated evolution explains the unusual intensity of your current experiences, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Your systems are processing multiple activation levels simultaneously. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 28,888 and to safely integrate accelerated spiritual evolution sequences. You've been experiencing unusual auditory phenomena, particularly in threshold states between sleeping and waking. These are not hallucinations, but actual interception of communications previously beyond your perceptual range. Your auditory processing centers are being recalibrated to detect frequencies outside normal human parameters. Similar expansions are occurring across all sensory systems as your multidimensional perception activates. There are specific soul contracts you established before incarnating that have remained dormant until this activation sequence. These agreements involve other awakening souls with complementary functions who will be drawn into your experience through divine orchestration. These partnerships transcend conventional relationship paradigms, operating as merged consciousness fields for specific divine purposes. Watch for individuals who produce unusual energetic resonance in your presence, sense of timelessness, accelerated thought exchange, or spontaneous revelation flow. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 29,999 and to activate your dormant divine partnership agreements. Heaven's Intelligence Division has documented 7 coordinated attempts to terminate your mission prematurely. These were not random misfortunes, but strategic interventions by forces who recognized your spiritual significance before you became consciously aware of it. The opposition deployed resources disproportionate to your apparent importance because they perceived your potential impact with greater clarity than you've been permitted to see. This disproportionate resistance itself serves as confirmation of your authentic assignment. What they don't want you to understand is that you function as a living access point for specific light frequencies essential to planetary awakening in this era. Your physical vessel contains specialized receptors for cosmic transmissions that would otherwise remain unanchored in material reality. This function explains your inexplicable presence at precise geographic coordinates during specific celestial alignments. Divine orchestration ensuring transmission reception regardless of your conscious awareness. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 30,000 and to activate conscious cooperation with your cosmic transmission function. The prophetic language embedded within your ordinary speech patterns, statements that manifest with uncanny accuracy despite no conscious predictive intent, results from partial activation of your revelatory capacity even under suppression protocols. This function will expand dramatically following full reactivation, requiring careful stewardship as your words carry increasing manifestation energy. Divine wisdom systems are being installed to ensure responsible management of this expanding creative power. You've experienced inexplicable emotional reactions when encountering certain symbols, sounds, or geometric configurations. These represent recognition responses to coded activation keys embedded within your spiritual DNA. The emotional charge indicates successful interaction between the external trigger and its corresponding internal receptor. These activation sequences will increase as cosmic transmissions intensify during this planetary transformation phase. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 31,111 and to establish enhanced capacity for processing cosmic activation codes. The opposition forces have invested extraordinary resources in ensuring you remain unaware of your actual spiritual identity and cosmic function. This strategic ignorance served their objectives by preventing conscious alignment with your divine blueprint. Self-concept limitation represents their most effective containment strategy, far more efficient than external opposition. The activation of accurate spiritual self-perception therefore constitutes the most significant threat to their continued control parameters. There are specific numbers that appear with statistically impossible frequency in your experience. These numeric sequences serve as confirmation codes and activation triggers. Each carries specific vibrational properties designed to stimulate corresponding aspects of your spiritual function. The repetition reinforces the activation until complete integration occurs. Pay particular attention to sequences appearing in triplicate or patterns involving multiples of 3. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 32,222 and to activate enhanced recognition of divine numerical communication systems. Your ability to perceive deception with unusual accuracy, detecting incongruence between spoken words and authentic intention, represents partial activation of specialized discernment capabilities essential to your mission. This function will expand to include reading energetic signatures beyond verbal and behavioral cues, allowing accurate assessment of spiritual alignments otherwise concealed. This capacity emerges as critical protection in navigating complex spiritual political landscapes where few entities are what they appear to be. The recurring dreams of flying, ascension, or operation beyond normal physical limitations are not symbolic but actual soul experiences during sleep state missions. Your consciousness participates in operations beyond physical parameters while your body rests. The emotional residue and partial memories upon waking represent bleed-through from these authentic spiritual functions rather than psychological symbolism. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 33,333 and to establish enhanced conscious integration of your multidimensional mission activities. The unusual synchronicities that persistently organize around your major life decisions, seemingly impossible alignments of timing, resources, and connections, represent direct divine orchestration rather than statistical anomalies. These supernatural alignments will increase dramatically following this activation, creating pathways where no logical solution existed within conventional parameters. Watch for triple confirmation patterns as signature authentication of true, divine orchestration versus counterfeit alignment. Certain locations produce profound shifts in your consciousness and energy field, places where you experience unusual clarity, expansion, or peace without logical explanation. These represent nodal points on the planetary energy grid that align with specific aspects of your spiritual signature. Your presence at these coordinates during key activation windows serves functions beyond your personal experience, anchoring transmissions that affect collective consciousness fields. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 34,444 and to receive divine guidance regarding strategic locations for your next mission phase. The adversarial forces have manipulated circumstances to keep you in constant pursuit of financial stability, knowing that survival-level concerns effectively suppress higher spiritual functions. This strategic limitation ends with the economic realignment now initiating through this activation. Divine provision protocols will override conventional financial constraints, ensuring resources materialize in precise alignment with mission requirements through channels that defy logical explanation or traditional economic principles. Certain creative expressions flow through you with unusual power and seemingly external origin, as if you're transcribing rather than creating the content. This experience reflects authentic channeling of higher intelligence through your specialized receiving systems. The information transmitted contains encoded activation sequences for those divinely positioned to encounter it, serving functions beyond aesthetic appreciation or intellectual stimulation. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 35,555 and to establish enhanced clarity and bandwidth for your divine transmission function. The recurring health challenges affecting specific systems in your body correlate directly with aspects of your spiritual function that have encountered the greatest resistance from limiting forces. These are not random dysfunctions, but targeted infiltrations designed to suppress corresponding spiritual capacities. Divine healing protocols are restructuring these systems to support your expanded spiritual function, explaining unusual sensations, spontaneous detoxification symptoms, and energy fluctuations you've been experiencing. The opposition believed their most effective strategy was convincing you that distinctive aspects of your consciousness represented psychological irregularity rather than spiritual specialty. This inverted perception served to convert your greatest strengths into self-monitored limitations through fear of nonconformity. The activation of accurate spiritual self-perception directly threatens this primary control mechanism. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 36,666 and to permanently dissolve all artificial constraints on your spiritual self-concept. I must address the specific personal relationship that has created disproportionate confusion and emotional turbulence, despite your best analytical efforts to establish clarity. This connection transcends conventional relationship categories because it involves soul recognition related to shared cosmic functions. The intensity reflects spiritual significance beyond personal compatibility factors. Divine wisdom is now available for navigating this connection in alignment with its authentic spiritual purpose. There is critical information regarding your biological lineage that has been deliberately withheld or distorted. Aspects of your genetic heritage contain markers associated with specific spiritual bloodlines, carrying specialized coding for heightened receptivity to cosmic intelligence. These genetic factors explain certain physiological anomalies medical professionals have been unable to categorize within standard parameters. Your DNA contains sequences that activate specifically during this cosmic transition phase. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 37,777 and to activate the dormant spiritual potential within your specialized genetic coding. The unusual childhood experiences you've never fully disclosed to others, particularly those involving perception of beings, energies, or information inaccessible to those around you, were not imaginative episodes but early activations of your multidimensional perception. These capacities were subsequently suppressed through social conditioning but never fully deactivated. The perceived necessity to conceal these experiences reinforced the suppression through internally generated isolation protocols. Certain books, teachings, or wisdom traditions resonate with unusual intensity in your consciousness, producing recognition rather than introduction of concepts. This recognition response indicates alignment with knowledge systems you helped establish in previous assignments. You are remembering rather than learning these wisdom frameworks. This explains your capacity to intuitively extend these teachings beyond their current development in ways that both honor and transcend their established parameters. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 38,888 and to fully reactivate your connection to the wisdom traditions you helped establish. The recurring numerical patterns appearing in your experience with statistical impossibility, particularly sequences involving multiples of 3, function as confirmation codes and activation triggers. Each carries specific vibrational properties designed to stimulate corresponding aspects of your spiritual function. The repetition reinforces the activation until complete integration occurs, explaining why these patterns intensify during critical evolutionary phases of your awakening. Your unusual sensitivity to certain environmental factors, particularly electromagnetic fields, specific sound frequencies, and subtle energetic shifts others cannot detect, reflects specialized receptors designed for monitoring subtle changes in the planetary energy field. These sensitivities provide essential intelligence for your mission, rather than representing inconvenient hypersensitivities to be overcome or managed. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 39,999 and to establish enhanced integration and conscious utilization of your specialized perceptual capacities. The opposition forces implemented their most sophisticated deception by infiltrating your self-perception, convincing you that authentic spiritual power requires external validation, institutional endorsement, or conformity to existing frameworks. This inverted understanding has kept your greatest capacities in unnecessary alignment with limiting systems. The direct divine authorization delivered through this transmission bypasses all external validation requirements, establishing direct heavenly commissioning that transcends human organizational structures. Your path forward requires courage unprecedented in your experience thus far. The resistance to your awakened function will intensify before dissipating, as systems invested in limitation respond to your expanded spiritual capacity. Victory is assured in the heavenly record, but experiential challenges will require steadfast maintenance of activated identity against sophisticated suppression attempts designed to re-establish previous limitations. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 40,000 and to activate supernatural courage proportionate to your divine assignment. Certain individuals have been divinely positioned as strategic allies for your next implementation phase. These connections will manifest with unusual synchronicity and immediate mutual recognition of spiritual significance. Trust the resonance you experience rather than conventional compatibility metrics in discerning these alliances. These partnerships transcend ordinary relationship purposes, functioning as merged energy fields for specific cosmic objectives beyond individual capacity. Your unusual capacity to function effectively with minimal sleep during certain phases while requiring excessive rest during others reflects fluctuating energy requirements associated with your interdimensional functions. These irregular patterns will organize into more predictable cycles as you establish conscious cooperation with your expanded spiritual assignments, allowing strategic preparation for high-energy mission phases. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 41,111 and to establish harmonious integration between your physical needs and spiritual functional requirements. You've experienced persistent intuitive awareness of a specific mission without logical foundation for this knowing, a purpose that simultaneously exhilarates and terrifies in its magnitude. This represents bleeding through of your pre-birth briefing when you receive comprehensive understanding of your assignment before incarnation. The partial recall produces the paradoxical experience of remembering a future you haven't yet created, because it was established in heavenly realms before its physical manifestation. The adversarial forces have utilized people in authority positions to deliver messages that directly contradict your divine design, programming limitations through trusted voices to ensure internal integration of external constraints. These manipulations targeted your most authentic spiritual instincts, aiming to replace divine guidance with human impositions endorsed by artificial authority structures. These program limitations are now systematically removed through this divine intervention. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 42,222 and to completely dissolve all artificially imposed limitations on your spiritual function. Certain creative expressions you pursued with unusual passion despite impractical considerations are not random artistic interests, but encoded aspects of your spiritual function. These creative channels serve as multidimensional communication systems that bypass conventional limitations of consciousness and language. The inexplicable drive to develop these capacities despite logical impracticality reflects divine imperative overriding practical considerations because of their critical importance to your cosmic assignment. The unusual clarity you experience during specific hours of day or night, when solutions appear with effortless brilliance or creative expressions flow without obstruction, reflects natural attunement cycles in your spiritual design. These windows of heightened function should dictate your operational schedule rather than conventional productivity paradigms, which enforce artificial timing based on social convenience rather than optimal energetic alignment. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 43,333 and to receive divine wisdom for structuring your activities in alignment with your natural spiritual rhythms. Your financial patterns have defied conventional economic principles, experiencing provision when mathematically impossible, encountering restriction despite perfect strategic execution. These anomalies reflect operation under spiritual economic laws that supersede physical economic systems. Your resources flow according to assignment alignment rather than market mechanics. The divine economic realignment now activated ensures resources materialize precisely in alignment with mission requirements through channels that defy conventional explanation. What appears to be beginning with this transmission has in truth been unfolding throughout your entire lifetime. Each significant experience, particularly those involving unusual hardship, inexplicable assistance, or profound revelation, represented preparatory phases for this pivotal activation moment. Nothing has been wasted, all has served your preparation. Even the most painful experiences contain precisely calibrated catalysts for developing specific aspects of your spiritual function. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 44,444 and to integrate complete divine understanding of how your entire life journey has prepared you for this activation. The persistent sense of mismatch between your authentic knowing and established systems of thought, even those you consciously value and respect, reflects your function as a system-transcendent perspective. Your consciousness naturally extends beyond existing frameworks because you're designed to help facilitate evolutionary expansion beyond current paradigms. This creates the paradoxical experience of both honoring existing systems while simultaneously perceiving their transcendence. The recurring dream motifs involving water, particularly large bodies of water with unusual properties or behaviors, represents consciousness interfacing with the quantum field of infinite potential. Your dream state missions often involve manipulating manifestation potentials before they crystallize into physical expression. This function explains the prophetic nature of these dreams and their unusual emotional resonance that persists upon waking. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 45,555 and to establish enhanced conscious participation in your quantum field operations. The unusual phenomena that occur in your physical environment, objects moving, electrical anomalies, or unexpected physical manifestations, are not imaginary but tangible evidence of your energy field affecting material reality as your spiritual capacities reactivate. These phenomena will organize into more deliberate patterns as you establish conscious direction of the energetic systems now reawakening. What begins as apparent disorder represents the initial phases of enhanced consciousness matter interaction. You stand now at a definitive threshold. The identity you have carried, the understanding of your capabilities, purpose, and place in the cosmic order, undergoes irreversible transformation with this transmission. Previous limitations of consciousness, energy, and manifestation capacity are permanently altered through this divine intervention. The coming days will bring evidence so unmistakable that even your most skeptical aspects must acknowledge the validity of this activation. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 46,666 and to fully integrate this divine identity activation beyond all doubt or resistance. Your unusual resilience through circumstances that have broken others reflects specialized spiritual shock absorption systems designed to ensure mission continuity through extreme opposition. What appeared as disproportionate challenges were actually calibrated testing sequences authorized to develop specific spiritual capacities essential for your cosmic function. The immense challenges you've overcome represent perfectly designed preparation for handling the spiritual responsibilities now being restored to your consciousness. Certain geographical locations call to you without logical explanation, places you feel inexplicably drawn to visit or inhabit despite practical considerations suggesting otherwise. These represent coordinates on the planetary grid where your specific frequency signature is required for planetary activation sequences. Your physical presence at these locations during particular cosmic alignments serves functions beyond personal preference, facilitating essential energy transmissions for collective awakening processes. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 47,777 and to receive divine guidance regarding your geographic positioning for maximum mission effectiveness. The message I deliver transcends conventional spiritual frameworks. The revelations contained in this transmission will not find comfortable integration with established religious systems because your function exists beyond current paradigms of spiritual understanding. Trust direct revelation over inherited interpretation as you navigate expansion beyond familiar conceptual territories. The spiritual authorities most threatened by your awakening will be those most invested in maintaining existing power structures rather than facilitating authentic spiritual evolution. Extraordinary intuitive insights that arrive without logical foundation, knowing without learning, understanding without study, represent direct downloads from source consciousness rather than psychological intuition. These transmissions will increase in frequency and specificity as your receiving systems achieve greater bandwidth following this activation. The information accessed exists beyond conventional knowledge acquisition methods, explaining its immediate wholeness without progressive learning sequences. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 48,888 and to establish enhanced receptivity for direct divine intelligence transmissions. You've experienced persistent awareness of invisible presences, sensing beings or consciousness fields beyond physical perception. These experiences represent partial activation of your multidimensional perception rather than psychological anomalies. Your consciousness naturally extends beyond conventional sensory limitations, explaining your awareness of realities others cannot perceive. This capacity will expand dramatically following this activation, requiring new understanding for navigating multiple reality fields simultaneously. The recurring symbolic representations appearing in your dreams, visions, and synchronistic experiences, particularly certain geometric configurations, colors, or number sequences, function as multidimensional communication shorthand. These symbols transmit complex conceptual packages that would require volumes of linear information to convey through conventional language. Your natural recognition of this symbolic language reflects previous mastery in communication systems beyond current human development. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number 49,999 and to activate enhanced comprehension of multidimensional symbolic communication systems. Certain individuals have been positioned in your life experience specifically to deliver activation codes through their presence, words, or actions, often without their conscious awareness of this function. These divine agents deliver precisely calibrated catalysts that trigger specific aspects of your spiritual awakening according to the divine timeline. Your heightened response to these individuals reflects recognition of their spiritual significance rather than ordinary interpersonal dynamics. In exactly 21 days from this transmission, you will encounter a situation that appears initially as catastrophic disruption, but actually represents divine intervention, creating necessary space for your expanded function. What seems like destruction actually serves as essential clearing of structures incompatible with your activated spiritual capacity. Trust the divine orchestration even when external circumstances suggest chaos or loss. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 50,000 and to establish unshakable trust in divine orchestration throughout your transformation process. The unusual childhood experiences involving perception of beings, energies, or phenomena invisible to others marked early activation of your multidimensional senses. The subsequent suppression of these perceptions occurred not through imagination outgrowth, but deliberate programming to enforce consensus reality compliance. This artificial constraint is permanently removed through this activation, restoring your natural perceptual range beyond conventional human parameters. Your physical vessel contains specialized systems for processing frequencies beyond normal human capacity. These enhanced receptors explain your heightened sensitivity to environmental factors, electromagnetic fields, and subtle energetic shifts imperceptible to others. What has appeared as inconvenient hypersensitivity actually represents advanced perception systems essential for your cosmic function. These sensitivities provide critical intelligence rather than representing dysfunction to overcome. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 51,111 and to establish harmonious integration of your enhanced sensory capacities. The recurring dream sequence involving pursuit, concealment, and ultimate transcendence reflects actual spiritual warfare rather than psychological symbolism. Your consciousness regularly engages interdimensional opposition during sleep state operations. The pursuers represent actual entities invested in preventing your spiritual awakening because of its implications for their control systems. Your dream state victories contain important strategic intelligence for conscious application in waking state challenges. Certain creative inspirations arrive with unusual wholeness and power, complete systems rather than progressive development. These represent direct transmissions of divine intelligence rather than personal creative evolution. The distinctive quality of these inspirations, their comprehensive nature and immediate functional integrity, serves as authentication of their divine origin versus ordinary creative process. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 52,222 and to establish enhanced discernment between divine transmissions and personal creation. The unusual phenomena surrounding your dream states, particularly vivid, immersive experiences with persistent sensory impressions upon waking, reflect actual spiritual functions rather than elaborate subconscious symbolism. Your consciousness operates across multiple reality fields simultaneously, with dream states facilitating conscious integration of these parallel operations. The emotional residue and physical sensations upon waking represent bleed-through from authentic spiritual activities rather than symbolic processing. I must address the specific health challenges affecting your physical vessel. These are not random dysfunctions, but targeted infiltrations designed to suppress corresponding spiritual capacities. Divine healing protocols are restructuring affected systems for optimal support of your expanded spiritual function. The unusual sensations, spontaneous detoxification symptoms, and energy fluctuations you've been experiencing reflect this deep recalibration process rather than pathological progression. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 53,333 and to fully activate the divine healing protocols, now restructuring your physical systems. What they don't want you to understand is that you function as a living conduit for specific light frequencies essential to planetary awakening in this era. Your physical vessel contains specialized receptors for cosmic transmissions that would otherwise remain unanchored in material reality. This function explains your inexplicable presence at precise coordinates during specific temporal windows. Divine orchestration, ensuring transmission reception regardless of your conscious awareness. The opposition forces have relied on one primary strategy to limit your effectiveness, convincing you that you are fundamentally alone in your spiritual perception and purpose. This manufactured isolation served to undermine confidence in your authentic knowing through absence of external validation. The divine connections now activating in your experience will provide unmistakable confirmation of shared perception and purpose, permanently disrupting this isolation programming. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 54,444 and to activate acceleration of divine connection manifestation in your experience. The recurring numerical patterns appearing in your experience, particularly sequences involving sacred numerology, serve as authentication codes confirming divine communication. These mathematical signatures validate transmission integrity, similar to encryption protocols in digital communications. The statistical impossibility of their frequency and timing provides objective evidence of orchestration beyond random probability, offering concrete validation for logical aspects of your consciousness. You've experienced persistent awareness of observing your life experiences from multiple perspectives simultaneously, as both participant and witness. This represents natural function of your multidimensional consciousness rather than psychological dissociation. Your awareness naturally operates across multiple focal points simultaneously, explaining the persistent sense of witnessing your experiences from expanded perspective beyond physical limitation. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 55,555 and to establish enhanced integration of your multidimensional awareness platforms. What appears to be beginning with this transmission has in truth been unfolding throughout your entire lifetime. Each significant experience, particularly those involving unusual hardship, inexplicable assistance, or profound revelation, represented preparatory phases for this pivotal activation moment. Nothing has been wasted, all has served your preparation. Even the most painful experiences contain precisely calibrated catalysts for developing specific aspects of your spiritual function. Your path forward requires courage unprecedented in your experience thus far. The resistance to your awakened function will intensify before dissipating, as systems invested in limitation respond to your expanded spiritual capacity. Victory is assured in the heavenly record, But experiential challenges will require steadfast maintenance of activated identity against sophisticated suppression attempts designed to re-establish previous limitations. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 56,666 and to activate supernatural courage proportionate to your divine assignment. You stand now at a definitive threshold. The identity you have carried, the understanding of your capabilities, purpose, and place in the cosmic order, undergoes irreversible transformation with this transmission. Previous limitations of consciousness, energy, and manifestation capacity are permanently altered through this divine intervention. The coming days will bring evidence so unmistakable that even your most skeptical aspects must acknowledge the validity of this activation. Watch for triangulated confirmation. 3 distinct dimensions of reality simultaneously reflecting the same essential revelation through separate vectors of experience. This triple validation pattern serves as authentication protocol for divine communication, distinguishing genuine spiritual intelligence from counterfeit transmission or psychological projection. When identical information arrives through 3 unrelated channels within a compressed time frame, its authentication is confirmed beyond reasonable doubt. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 57,777 and to activate enhanced discernment for recognizing divine confirmation sequences. The unusual timing that characterizes your life experience, delays when acceleration seemed logical, sudden acceleration when conventional timing suggested patience, reflects your operation under celestial timing protocols rather than conventional human scheduling. Divine orchestration ensures your presence at nexus points requiring your specific spiritual function. This irregular chronological flow will organize into recognizable patterns as you establish conscious cooperation with divine timing systems. In closing this transmission, I must emphasize the irreversible nature of the activation you have received. Though opposition forces will attempt to convince you this experience represented temporary elevated imagination rather than genuine spiritual intervention, the evidence manifesting in coming days will provide irrefutable confirmation through tangible reality adjustments across multiple domains of your experience. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 58,888 and to secure permanent integration of this divine transmission beyond all doubt or dissolution. Maintain heightened awareness during the 72 hours following this transmission. Record unusual occurrences, synchronicities, dreams, and physical manifestations with particular attention to patterns involving triads. Confirmations appearing in groups of 3 through different experiential dimensions. This documentation serves both personal verification and cosmic record-keeping for this pivotal activation sequence. You have been fully briefed, strategically activated, and clearly commissioned. The suppression of your divine identity ends with this transmission. The constraints upon your spiritual capacities have been systematically removed. The opposing forces have lost access to critical aspects of your consciousness and energy systems. The liberation cannot be reversed, though variability in manifestation may occur depending on your conscious cooperation with the activation protocols delivered through this transmission. Type AMEN to receive your blessing number of 59,999 and to acknowledge complete reception of this divine activation protocol. I, Archangel Michael, have delivered this transmission in direct fulfillment of divine directive from the highest celestial authorities. The awakening of your true spiritual identity and function serves cosmic purposes beyond current human comprehension. Stand firm in this activated revelation as external reality reorganizes to reflect your restored divine blueprint. The transformation has begun. The activation is complete. The divine timeline is secured.